Thank you very much. What a great presentation that we have to follow up on right now. By the way, it's a great demonstration of what can happen when central government, regional government, and the community also all back a project. And so I want to congratulate you on that project that you have going on in the United States. Not the same case in Spain, as we will see, but certainly a challenge that we want to partake in. We're very proud of the project that we have. It's certainly in a more nascent stage than the project that we just saw right now, but I think it's a project that we're ready to launch, and I'm very excited to be in and here and share our vision for this project. So another presentation that really motivated me yesterday was the IPCC summary, the sixth report. It really reminded me why we're here. In my case, from the practice of law, I've always looked to projects that further noble causes. But when I think about climate change and the climate crisis, I immediately think of my daughter. I immediately think of the world that I want for her, the world that I want for future generations. So it's really what motivated me to be here and gives me that personal responsibility. So when I got a phone call in 2020 to be in Spain, I got it from Mexico, to be in Spain, right at the onset of a global pandemic. I didn't flinch. I took it as a rare opportunity to really get out and do something more than just counsel. And so I'm very happy to be here in relatively good health. I'm very happy to be here to listen and to learn about CCUS and also to share with you the vision that we put together in the last couple of years. So basically we'll outline my company, the project, and the site characteristics. Again, very much more nascent projects than the one we just looked at. A little bit about Ibexia. Ibexia, at the essence, is a photovoltaic company. It's a development company located in Spain. We've developed, through our subsidiary, Ibexia Energy, over 650 megawatts of solar energy, all of which have been sold off to China Three Gorges recently. We have 2 gigawatts in the pipeline to be ready to build in the next 2 years, which means that when this happens, our platform will be responsible for 10% of the solar capacity in Spain, which is a notable presence in the region. Now, in addition to photovoltaic production, we have other decarbonization endeavors, such as the one that we're talking about today. But in essence, and really the heart and essence of why that's important, is that our projects are all intended to be full green cycle projects. In other words, the installations, all of the operations to be either run directly through photovoltaic energy or through PPAs of energy that we put into the grid in the region. This is a basic concept of what we put together. Again, we're looking at 2 different streams of CO2. And this is an effort that was put together from the team building and alliance building that we've been able to accomplish in the last 2 years, 2.5 years. It started with our presence in IJME, then later finding experts to help us with the technical direction, but then also creating great alliances with great organizations. And so Ibexia as a project sponsor and SINTEF as the project coordinator for this concept brought together and found a way to attract all of this industry that's here today. And the gray source that you see coming in is from Holcim Lafarge, which is very nearly located to the sink or the geological storage site. And the idea here is that gray CO2 be the source for the storage site, and at the same time, source biogenic CO2 from wastewater facilities, from a brewery, and other qualifying biogenic sources, to then also, in a concentrated solution, produce green hydrogen and green synfuel at the demonstration hub location. So again, the project was conceived and designed to match the demonstration scale that the call was requiring us to do. But in essence, and the objective was to spark and to trigger the blossoming of this to connect with the local industry and the regional industry, which we'll talk about in the next slide. So the project is located in Murcia. It's conceived to be launched in Murcia. And why? Why are we there, right? So first of all, it's one of the highest irradiation, solar irradiation locations in all of Spain. So in terms of photovoltaic generation, it's an ideal scenario. And since we're self-supplying, thank you. And since we're self-supplying, then grid connectivity and capacity are non-issue. It's really a matter of us being able to put those panels down. So that's first and foremost why this location is important. Secondly, based on our council, we looked at over dozens and dozens of locations, and based on the information and the legacy data that was there in IJME, it's determined that at least at a pre-phase, there was a high amount of capacity for storage in this site. So that was a second qualifying reason for us to look at this location. But then also important is that there is significant amount of CO2 emissions. It's an industrial area that is also adjacent to a seaport. So when we think about the current political climate, and we look at the vision for Spain, green hydrogen is able to be launched from this location as we are able to deploy it. So we see this location also strategic location for EU interconnectivity for energy, right? It's located in the Mediterranean, and it's ideal location. Finally, we believe that the area is ripe for economic transformation. So for all of these reasons, we think that this is a great location. Now, the purpose of this demo is not only to address potential energy security issues, proliferate the production of green hydrogen, it's also intends to transform and what looks like initially an inefficient and a model of business. Why? We've talked about this in the last couple of days. CO2 storage requires tax incentives, requires government participation, requires EU funding, requires so much to be able to launch. And so for us, the ability to address this issue and to scale will then allow us to convert outputs that may be inefficient right now, but then be able to compete with traditional and hydrocarbons. And then these have already been mentioned here before. I'm not going to teach anybody here anything. Societal and political readiness. I wish we had 95% acceptance of this project. In this region, we're going to have to address a preconception that the CO2 injection and fracking are the same. It's one of those issues that we're going to have to address, differentiate. So we're building strong alliances with the local university. We are going to have town hall meetings, and we have to have that open communication. But at the same time, we accept the challenge to participate not only at a local level, but then also from a EU level and be an agent for that change. So we understand that this is going to be an uphill battle for us. And more importantly, as we're starting as a demonstration and a pilot project, the idea here is to really focus on the innovative components of the CO2 injection, to limit the scale and to permit this as a pilot so we're able to permeate from central government, at least for the onset. And once we have a demonstrated working well, and once we're putting a green hydrogen out in the market, and once we have those relationships built with local regional industry, make the case that this is a safe, secure operation, that the production of this green hydrogen aligns with Spain's policy objectives and energy objectives of green hydrogen, and obviously the economic transformation is palpable, that it warrants this kind of a policy shift in Spain. Obviously, the site characterization is a challenge. We have done some work, and Carlos will talk about that. We do have a pre-feasibility study in addition to the work that was performed by the legacy data that's in Ibexia Reservoir. There is a exploration campaign that was performed in conjunction with SINTEF and other excellent organizations to really explore and characterize this site technically, which is the foundation to really have that transformation, right? We want to make sure that it's clear that we're going to do these things impeccably, safely, with the best team possible to get that credibility and that drive. In that regard, we've initiated the permitting. The permit for the pilot has been requested, and we're moving forward with the project as we speak. And so I'd like Carlos.
Good morning to everybody. This is the pointer, I think. Oh. I'm sorry. Oh. Sorry so much, huh? Looking for the pointer. Sorry. Yeah, no more. It's needed. Wait. To go back. Okay. Thank you so much. Good morning to everybody again. A brief information about the storage site, okay? As Marco mentioned, the potential storage site is in the south of Spain, is in the region of Murcia, close to the Mediterranean coast, and is let's say a well-known site because it was explored in the past many times. With a clear seal, the formation Sierra de la Puerta, with a thickness in most of the parts on the site close to 500, 700 meters, and two potential reservoirs. The first one is Formación Carbonática 2, these limestones, with a wide, very relevant, with the thickness relevant, but the target is in the bottom because the permeability is expected to be high with a relevant primary and secondary porosity, and the upper part is with a poor porosity. What that means is, let's say, the bottom part of the seal. An intermediate layer, the Formación Carbonática 1, that could act as a seal as well. And finally, at the bottom, Formación Utrillas and Formación El Buceo is the second reservoir. It's very different from the upper part because the composition is silticlastic materials and with expected high permeability as well, primary porosity mainly. The bottom part is Formación Malacara and Formación Cerro Lobo. That was the targets during the exploration campaigns conducted at the 80s and 2005, looking for natural gas. The area is located in the internal Prebetic and the peninsular Betic chains, and it's a part studied in the past, as mentioned, for hydrocarbons exploration and as well for mining. Yeah. As mentioned, the relevant background is existing on site because in the 80s, mentioned before, A 2D seismic campaign was performed with a grid of 9.6, a surface explored more or less of 150 square kilometers, and as well 2 wells. The well Rio Segura G1 was drilled in the 80s as well by Ibexia and BP with a depth close to 3,500 meters. And the new well is Murcia B1. Murcia B1 is with the same depth, more or less, and was drilled in 2005 by Repsol. So, as mentioned, the existing background is relevant and was used by IGME in 2009, 2010 to develop the study Algae CO2, looking for existing and promising sites for CO2 geological storage. So, according to this, Ibexia developed a pre-feasibility study, as Marco mentioned it, at the beginning of this year, with a clear outcome. The site, Murcia Rio Segura site, that this is the name, is a promising site for CO2 geological storage, with a capacity close to 40 million of tons. With this capacity, let's say that it's possible to use as a local site storage, in difference with comparing with other sites. So it's in this forum that is for other purposes. This is for local uses, okay? And the outcome is this, but nevertheless, the further exploring activities are needed. For that reason, as Marco mentioned it, we have requested an exploration investigation permit on June, addressing activities in 2 phases. The first phase is the main activities and exploring activities. It's geodrone survey, 3D seismic campaign, and environmental networks to determine the baseline, hydrogeological, microseismicity, and soil gas emissions, and the geomodeling to decide if it is possible to go to the next step, that is the well drilling, is the laboratory works, the well testing, and finally the advanced geomodeling, to determine if finally it's possible, as Marco mentioned as well, to go to the pilot phase, because we consider the pilot phase crucial for this project, because it's the way to get confidence, to gain knowledge, to get confidence, the promoter, to Nexwell Group and Ibexia particularly, to get confidence from the administration, in this case, the regional government of Murcia, the General Direction of Energy and Activities of Industry and Mining, to get confidence from the social in general, and to gain knowledge with all the partners who could be interested to participate in this project. And that is all from my side. It's one for you, I wrap up. I think it's better you do it, please.
Thank you, Carlos. So to wrap up quickly, I think we're running out of time. Basically, we found a promising site that has valid information that we want to perform additional studies on. And we want to make this the centerpiece of an energy hub that can be more than just a site. It can launch energy transformation in the region. So we want to validate those techniques for capturing. We obviously want to integrate both CCS and CCU. And more importantly, and I think, again, matching the previous presentation, we want to replicate this. We want to scale this, not just in Spain, obviously in Europe, but certainly even abroad. So we also welcome not only questions, but we also welcome collaboration. And thank you very much for having us today. Appreciate you.